All right, welcome everyone to Hire Moment Mastermind. Very small group again today, and this might be actually a fairly short meeting because we don't have too many questions apparently, but we are here to help whoever needs help. So the first thing is we want to just congratulate Deborah Shelby on landing. Yay, Deborah. And Deborah is here to share a little bit of her journey and share any, tips or things that worked for her that might help other people. So Deborah, take it away.
Yeah, thank you. So I thought I would just kind of share a little bit. I think the question people like to hear is that how it happened. And then I wrote down like a few things I've learned, and I'm on the wild ride. I'm actually on day 8 of my new job. So now I'm in the problem of how do I connect with my coworkers when we're all remote? So that's my new problem just that I'm working through. So kind of what am I sharing? I've not updated my LinkedIn yet. I'm actually going to wait till Monday because the company I work for is launching a new website and I'm going to have a color photo on there. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to wait. It's going to be fun. So my background had been in working in retained executive search in a nonprofit and association space. And I always think the world is my oyster. So when I lost my job, I'm like, what do I want to do? I can do anything. And I like to keep my options open, and was exploring a lot of different paths, which could lead to frustration because I think, it's kind of like the closer you're doing something, Cher talks about this, the closer you're doing something to the community you were just working with and doing the job you were in, the easier it is to get a job. And so I was trying to do slight pivots, not getting traction. So I think it was in August, I sat down and said, I need to go find the companies that are most like the company that I was just working for, who need someone me to do the job that's most like the job I just did. And so that's kind of a journey on how I landed in the position I'm in. It's similar, but different. I applied. And so I'm like the percentage of I applied directly to a company and did not have an internal champion or connection. That being said, I did check LinkedIn to see if I knew anyone. But I also feel like it's one of these, they had been trying, I found out they'd been looking for someone for 2 or 3 months. They were still looking for someone. And so I went ahead and did it, but I also did it in the spirit of, I didn't spend hours and hours perfecting an application package to send. I sent my resume with a note like, hey, I'm interested, would love to talk, 15 minutes. And so I think that's one of my things, like, if you're like, I kind of said, yeah, I applied. So it's like, if you're one of this, like, yes, I applied directly with no connection, but I also didn't spend a lot of time on perfecting my documents. It was like one activity I did in the day. Went through several rounds of interviews, kind of happy if you guys have questions to talk about, what that's like, what it's like joining a company and being it's fully virtual, and absolutely thrilled. I think I told someone a couple of months ago, I want to work in a company that's fully remote and where people are collaborative and friendly. And that's where I'm in. And I still pinch myself that it's real. It's like, because when you start remote, you don't go into an office and go, hey, my coworkers, my desk. It's like, right. Well, my laptop didn't get here today. So that's kind of the how. I think the lessons I learned are things I think that helped me. I realize it's just setting maybe smaller realistic goals, because sometimes I think I can get up and be like, I need to contact 5 or 10 people. I got to do this. And one of the things this summer I was talking with someone, I think, was just setting smaller goals and saying, you know what, if I do 3 connections as to this week, that's okay. And I think for me, one of the things that helped, I talked a little bit about changing my focus back to what I've been doing most recently, but I think that is also saying, okay, just set smaller goals. Don't maybe think about, like, am I putting pressure on myself? Because I think we're in this situation sometimes where, like, we know the date where unemployment or other things are ending. And so I realized I could maybe be putting pressure on myself. And then I think the other biggest lesson, and I hope I can take this into my new job, is focusing on what I can control and learning to let go what I can't, and just saying, you know what, I did the best. I hit it out of the park, move on. Just trying to really just think of things like, what can I do in my day? Because it feels like there's so much out of control. So I think that was the other thing. Yeah. And then I think that other thing I realized, which is funny because I'm a very confident, charismatic person, but honestly, sometimes my own inner voice would work against me in the job search. And I was actually helping other people. And I realized one time it's like, I do these things to help other people that I'm afraid to do for myself. And so I just reached that point of like, just do it. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Someone might not accept my LinkedIn invitation, but my mind sometimes is like this raging, like, oh my gosh, what is Tinny going to think if I send her a LinkedIn invitation? What's going to happen? And it's just like your mind can start racing. So I think that was one of the things I learned, like, just do it. Don't worry about it. If they return, you don't connect. It's not the end of the day. Don't just be out there. Yeah. And I think, and actually I would add the other lesson I'd add, I think that helped me. Someone told me, think about your other job coworkers when you're in a job. Think of other job seekers when you're in a job transition as your coworkers. Help each other, support each other, do what you can to build that community. And I think that's something that really helped me. I would say in the past year that I was in between success, I've met people that I consider good friends now, even though I've landed. So that's kind of my journey and lesson. I'm still unpacking it. I think, one other thing I would add is like, it's very weird when you accept an offer and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, I'm starting a job in 10 days. What do I do now? And I actually took a day. I really would recommend this. I took a day. It was actually the day Ida rolled through. And I went up to a mountain house in West Virginia and I journaled all day. And I said, I just want to journal about this past year. I want to honor it. I want to honor what I've learned. And that just really helped me. And then after that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go play and start thinking about the future. But because it's just kind of like, we're on this very intense, soul sucking, when is this going to end? And then it ends. And I was kind of like, now what do I do? So yeah, but happy to answer questions or happy to, connect if we're not. I think I'm connected with all of you on LinkedIn. Happy to connect. Let me know how I can help you, encourage you.
That was great, Deborah. Thank you so much. That was just yay.
Yeah, lots of positive comments there. Lots of good learnings, Deborah. Yeah, and just one thing you said, how do you connect with your, your coworkers virtually? And I get asked this question all the time, what's different between, now that all of the networking is virtually versus face-to-face, what do you do differently? And my short answer is always nothing. In other words, think if you were meeting face-to-face for the first time, you'd ask people questions, tell me a little bit about what you do. Tell me about your role. How long have you been with the company? What do you find, what are some of the best things about the company? Whatever question, and those, I'm just throwing those questions out. You could obviously think of questions that you think are important to you, important to your learning, getting up the learning curve. And you ask those same questions virtually. There is a difference in being in two-dimensional, communication versus three-dimensional, but the exchange of information could be pretty similar. I mean, the example I often use is, if Shira and I were meeting for the first time and I said to Shira right now, Shira, tell me the accomplishment you're most proud of in your career. Would her answer be any different than if Shira and I were having lunch face to face? It wouldn't.
It's just about being more intentional about meeting people, because you don't have the hallway chat. You don't have the.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And that's what I was learning yesterday, because I was in a meeting where I didn't know people, and I thought about that and I realized later, it's like, if we were in an office after the meeting ended, instead of everyone hitting leave meeting, there would have been, oh, hey, or like, I was thinking back, like, or I would have go by someone's office. And so all of a sudden my brain's going like, this feels awkward.
Yeah.
But this is Zoom. So how do I
You schedule it.
You
literally schedule it.
Yeah.
Schedule coffee breaks, or you say, hey, what time are you going to take a break for lunch? Let's do a Zoom to meet for lunch. You're doing the same thing, but like Shira said, it has to be intentional time. And you will find that if you invest that time to get to that interpersonal relationship with them, then they're going to do the same with you. And it is different. It's a different way to navigate it, but it's a lot of fun. I love your thoughts though. I mean, because this is a journey. It is a journey, and it does have a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. But the end, you have to reflect on it. I mean, that's the way you grow, is to be able to take that pause, that purposeful pause that you did, and reflect on it. I so think that is important to everybody who goes through it, is that you got to be able to reflect on it and be proud of yourself, which you are proud of yourself because you've learned something through this, you know, and I think that's the best part. It's a growing opportunity. Sometimes it just hurts to grow. That's all.
Well, yeah, just to follow up on Tenny's point, if you're not familiar with the book, Life's Transitions by William Bridges, it basically goes through exactly what Tenny said. William Bridges said, every one of our life's transitions has an ending, what he called a murky middle, and a new beginning. So if you think of it from the job search, the ending is when you lose your job, right? It's not a great ending. Then you go through this murky process of searching for a job, which throws you in all kinds of different directions. And the middle is, he often describes the middle as anxiety driven, unsure of yourself, but he said it's also a time to be creative and to learn. And then there's a new beginning. And that's typically when you land the new job and you have a new beginning. And yet that same theme, if you think about it, applies to almost every life transition. If you get married, you were single, there's an ending to that. You go through this dating and you decide to, get married, and now there's a whole new beginning. Now you're in a new relationship. If you have a child, the whole, it really is a pretty powerful book to think about life. And one of the examples he used, Deborah, to your point, when companies go through major transitions, I don't remember the specific example, but it was a company that went out to the parking lot and they actually set on fire all of the old stuff. And that's the ending. They memorialized the ending to, we're not doing this stuff anymore. We're now, in wherever they were going in terms of the company. So
it's great. Those are great lessons. Something else to hearken on, and I've said this before, and Deborah, you just, kind of underscored it in a big way. I always talk about employers trying to minimize their risk in the hire, and one of the ways they do that is to try to find the person who's been there, done that.
yeah.
And when you are in job transition and you're the one who's seeking, okay, meaning that you're you have this, you've got the urgency to get the job. You have to understand that the employer is in the catbird seat in that situation. They're the ones who kind of control things, right? They're the ones who say, look, we're only going to hire somebody who's got the skills that we need and the background that we need, the industry experience and all that stuff. The flip is reverse. The flip is true as well. When the employer is trying to find that purple squirrel, that unicorn, right? And the person that they're trying to hire is gainfully employed or doesn't need the work or doesn't want the work or whatever, then the job seeker's in the catbird seat, right? Because then you can say, yeah, no, I'm good, right? And so the seesaw keeps sort of tilting. But in your case, if you are really actively looking and you're thinking about a career change, I would encourage you to think, to consider what Deborah did. Just consider it. Is it worth it to, can you afford to take the time to, look for that unicorn job that you want, when the reality is that the employer is looking for somebody who's been there, done that, right? So I just be thinking and weighing all of your options, because I know that there are people who really spend a long, long time looking for that pivot job, which can be challenging, again, because the employer is just feeling like you're not you're not a trusted commodity yet. Like you haven't demonstrated those skills, so should we take the risk? So just be thinking in terms of weighing your options, wherever you are in your search. And again, Deborah, thank you for sharing your story, because I think that it's in your circumstance, I think it made a lot of sense, so thanks for that.
And I think about it too, like, on the pivot, I don't realize it until I landed, but I actually, because I'm not thinking now about how will I get my daily bread and how will I sustain myself, I actually feel like I have freedom now to think about what have I learned about myself in the past year, and in a year or two, maybe where do I want to be, and how am I heading there? And it's just like, it's just that sense of like, when you're, I think for me, when I realized when I was trying to maybe do a minor pivot and it didn't work, and I'm doing something I love now, which is, it's great, but I think it's kind of like, I just realized now, like, I feel like I actually have freedom now to think.
And in answer to you had said, what now? Those would be some of my comments. You now have a job, you've got a good job. You carve out some time if you do want to pivot, if there is some dream job that you think you'd be great at, you've got an income, you've got steady, you got a job, you can put bread on the table. Find the time to learn and grow in whatever other direction that you want to grow. It's a great opportunity to build your network. Find, as you said, set small goals. Don't try to, I want to build my network to 100 people in the next 6 months. One person a week, if you meet with, over time. So
yeah, it's a great point, Vern. And regardless of, whether you're gainfully employed or not, if you are trying to make that pivot, creating a trusted network is really important. Showing yourself to that community that you are interested, that you are knowledgeable, that you're learning. So for example, there are a lot of folks I know these days that are trying to get into the environmental sector. Okay. Climate change, all of that. We have somebody who's been on our call for a long time, who not here today, but has been trying to do that. And, one of the ways to do something like that, especially if you're shifting industries, is to plug into that community, right? And to, even if you can't be a thought leader, at least follow the thought leaders, comment on things, do some research. Maybe you should write an article, go to networking groups where those folks are hanging out. Show yourself to be part of that sector, right? So that they kind of feel like you're in the community, so that when an opportunity comes along, you're a known quantity, right? You're not just sort of randomly applying for a job. Other people who are in that circle know you, like you, and trust you, and are maybe willing to go to bat for you and say, look, Susie doesn't have all the experience that you're looking for, Mr. Employer, but look, she's so committed. She comes to these networking groups, and, she's thoughtful and this and that, and let's at least give her a chance, right? So that's one of the ways that you can actually make a pivot, but you have to do it with a lot of intention. Thank you, Deborah. That was great. Okay, Sandra, I think you said you had a question.
Yes, I did have a question. And congratulations again, Deborah. That's fantastic. The question I had was, I recently had applied to 2 positions, and employees had referred me. So what would be a recommended way to reach back? It's been 2 weeks and I hadn't heard from either one. The one position, the job search colleague said, hey, I forwarded your resume to the senior VP of HR, and, best wishes. And certainly, and I don't expect them to do any more than that. I'm so grateful they did that. They reached out and said, hey, I think you'd be great. Send me your resume. But yeah, just wanted to thoughts on how to follow up in those 2 situations.
So you said 2 situations. You just mentioned the one where she sent it to the senior VP. Was there another one?
Right. And the other one, employee had a former job search partner started with the company, and they'd been there 6 months, and they said, hey, they alerted me to the opportunity. So I went and applied and put their name down on the application, and had not heard back from them either. So both of these are overhead positions. So I know, again, they're not direct bills, they're both self-funded companies. So that factors into it. On the other side, I remember that, but yeah,
it's that old adage I always say, pack your patience, right? It's urgent for you, but not for them.
Yeah.
Especially if there's not a third party recruiter in the middle pushing the search along.
Mm-hmm.
Life happens, it's been a couple of weeks. You could at this point, or maybe even wait another week for the SVP, for the VP one, and write your friend back and say, hey, thank you so much again for forwarding, my resume along. I just wanted to put a little tickler in, would you feel comfortable following up, just to see if I'm under consideration, right? If there's some, so for my own, knowledge, to see whether this is a live opportunity or not. And I would even, and for the second one, you didn't have an internal person, right? You just,
Well-
just used somebody's name on an application. I mean,
Right, that person said, hey, Sandra, this job is posted, you might be a fit, please put my name down on your
Oh, I see.
application
Right,
as a
right,
referral.
right. So in that case, I would actually go back to that person, say, look, yes, thank you, I used your name. Would you mind forwarding my application? Like, I've already applied online. Would you mind also forwarding my application to the hiring manager for extra consideration?
Mhm.
Which of course
Okay.
means that they're going to get the credit too,
Right,
right? They'll make sure to get the credit. Rick,
okay.
any comments on that?
I would go back to what Deborah said, you haven't got anything to lose, just do it, all right? I mean, in those two instances, you've let enough time go by, and again, I'll be like a broken record with Shira. Senior VP, they got a million things going on. So, you're not right at the top of their, number one on their to-do list, right? Just understand that. Yeah.
It is
Thank you.
easy to get lost in the process. I mean, I've had people send me resumes and I'll send them to a fellow recruiter that I know she's really organized because she won't forget. So with each person that you're dealing with, some have different strengths. And so don't feel bad about checking back in.
Absolutely not. Yeah. People get
Thank you.
overwhelmed with the number of candidates they're dealing with all the other emails they've got, with all the, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming. I mean, look at your own life, right?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
How many times has somebody reached out to you and it's like you have a good intention? And this morning I was in a conversation with somebody and I didn't even notice on LinkedIn that he had responded to me. And I just happened to be checking my LinkedIn for something else. I was looking at my messages. I was looking for someone else and I noticed, oh, wait, Derek. Oh. And he's like, yeah, I haven't heard back from you. Sure. I'm like, oh my gosh, like we were in an actual conversation and he hadn't heard back from me. So that's busyness and just things happen. So don't worry about following up, really.
okay, thank you.
Sure. All right, Gwen, you've joined us. I don't know if you want to unmute if you have a question.
Oh, I'm from California. No, I'm just listening because I'm a career transition as well.
Is there anything you'd like to share about your search or any specific way we can help you?
Just being with industry groups and volunteering in positions of in the industry, whether it's being a coordinator or something. So hopefully that will give me notice and in the new industry that I'm transitioning to.
Okay, so you're transitioning to a completely different industry.
Yes, well, it's partially exploratory as well for me too, to make sure that it's you said not to do all these internships at middle age, so I'm just trying to figure out another way to make a career industry transition.
Yeah, I think what you indicated in terms of volunteering and going to networking groups is important. Again, as I mentioned a little bit ago, being known in a certain community is very helpful. But you really want to not only show up, you really need to express your interest level, right? You need to show them why you're interested in this. And you need to, you want to have one-on-one meetings with people and get to know the industry through someone else's eyes, people who've been in that industry for a long time, and say, okay, what's, informational interviews, right? What's it like to work in the sector? Give me lessons learned, ask them for connections. You want to learn as much as possible. And so the more people you talk to, your knowledge base is going to grow and your reputation is going to grow, because then more and more people are going to get to know you and then be able to refer you. Hope that helps.
How do you get information or interviews? Because it seems like people don't have time or, uh, yeah,
Well, it's true. People are very, very busy. And I'm not saying that every person is going to accept your request. Some people will. So the more people you ask, the more likely it is that someone's going to say yes. All right. But the other thing too is the easiest way to do it is if you can go to a networking event where those people are, and actually ask for the request like right there. So you've been on the call with them, chat them and say, hey, so-and-so, I really appreciated what you said, appreciate the comment or whatever. Would you be open for a follow-up meeting afterwards? Hopefully they'll say yes, because you're on the call. I mean, you're already showing yourself as part of the community. There's a greater likelihood that they're going to accept your request,
Mhm.
and then
And
follow
the-
up afterwards.
And the other best way to do that, Gwen, is if you have what I refer to as a trusted advocate in your network, someone you know who happens to know someone that you'd like to have an informational interview with, they can reach out to the other person and say, hey, one of my people in my network, Gwen, and I know her really well, and she'd like to have an informational interview. Do you have some time? And the person will either say yes or no. The likelihood that the person may say yes because of the relationship that person has with the person that you know is higher. And that's almost a warm introduction as to, someone that you just met or you don't really know.
Agreed. And you can also find that person on LinkedIn, right? So if you put the person's name in that you're looking to meet, if you're second level connected with them, LinkedIn will show you who your mutual connection is.
Yeah.
And then you can reach out to that person and ask for the introduction. Again, nothing works all the time, but some things work some of the time.
That's
You
right.
just have to do enough of this, right? So I hope that helps.
I have to be careful when I use the baseball analogy, but, because most people, don't follow sports like I do, but, in baseball, if you're up at bat 10 times and you get 3 hits, that's pretty good. That means 7 times you made outs. But that's, and that's kind of the way it goes with networking. You might be able to have a little bit higher batting average with networking, but as Shira said it, you'll reach out to people and it'll be a dead end. That's just the way it is.
All right, so moving on. Marvin, do you have an update for us?
Good morning. No real update. Talked with them. See, today's Friday, so it might have been Wednesday, and they were still working on an offer letter. And I know, Vern, I don't know what they're doing. I know a couple of people are leaving. A couple of C-suite people are leaving, and they was kind of, getting ready and reorganizing with that. So I did get a call from the HR department and spoke with the lady, and she said that, hey, they are, trying to put the letter together, they're getting signatures. And so I'm just sitting in the wait, just sitting here in the wait. So, and that's not a fun place all the time. So I'm really trying to stay busy at work and not focus on that. And because I do have a lot of work that I'm doing. So it is helping to kind of keep me busy and not focus on it. But the other side of me, once I get off work, I'm checking my emails and, did I miss an email? Did I miss a text message? Did I miss a phone call? And the sad thing is no, I didn't. Nothing happened. I didn't miss anything. Yeah. So this is a faith walk. I mean, I've had some in my life, and this is another round of that. And it's wow. So I'm just trying now to just okay, don't put a lot of energy into it. It's gonna happen. When it's gonna happen, we don't know. And I'm just kind of saying, well, maybe they working on, getting me this offer that's bigger than what I can imagine, trying to make me feel good about that. So that's where I'm at. I thought I would have had some more information, but that's what I have.
Yeah.
Yep. So now one of the reasons I really went shopping for a new job is the associate director at, at DDOT, Department of Transportation. She's leaving now. And she was tough to get along with, but she is leaving. And so that's, that's some good news. She's got another position somewhere and she's going on, moving on. But I thought I would have left before her, but not happening. So I'm just in the wait. I'm in the wait. So that's my update, sitting in the wait.
Patience.
Yes. And that's a tough one for me. Because I move fast and I like things happening and dumping, but
the government, though. It's the government.
Yes, and I have no control.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, got it. All right. Well, be blessed.
One of the toughest things in the job search is what your mind does while you're in that limbo situation. It goes in all different directions.
Yeah.
And it's hard for us to control it and not have some emotional reaction to everything that's going on around you.
Yeah. All right. Does anyone else have any questions? Scott, you have been with us a long time. I don't think we've ever heard from you. Would you like to ask a question, share anything?
I just got on, but not at this time, no.
Okay, no worries. All right, anyone else? We have a small crowd and not too many questions today, but happy to help.
I do have another one, Shara. It'll be, in 2 weeks, it'll be a year of looking for work since I was laid off. So I really appreciate you guys talking about memorializing the ending. So I'll use that date and think of and be reflective through this process. The question I have though is, with that time coming close, then I thought, well, I'm considering applying for a part-time job with the county. And the rationale behind that is, well, obviously, let's say I do get hired, the rationale behind that is it would possibly increase my likelihood of getting a job with the county, and then also show that I have some type of employment. Sure, there's opportunities to do temporary recruiting and that type. However, those roles historically have taken up so much time that at the end of the day, when that day ends, it's hard to have that energy to focus on the full-time job search or to search for the next full-time role, if that makes sense. So my concern is, how would that potentially look as, all right, I've got a part-time job with the county and it might be unrelated to HR director or talent acquisition director.
And the role would be how unrelated? You're on mute, Sandra.
Making sure the role is housing assistance coordinator. So you make sure the documentation is in place for people that are looking for housing assistance with the county.
Right.
So it is, yeah, there obviously are transferable skills, of course.
Right.
But
but the title is not.
Yeah.
It's a little
Correct.
tricky. I mean, it's an understandable question because you want to show that you're employed, but you also don't want to make it seem like you're completely off track. What I would do actually is if you do get that job, is on LinkedIn, right, and on your resume, put the title and in parentheses put part-time. And if you say part-time, that really indicates to an employer it's just a stopgap thing.
okay.
Yeah.
That helps. Thank you.
Yeah. I would say the other thing, Sandra, as you say, it's, in the part-time job, while it's part-time, sometimes it's a 4-hour job, but you spend 8 hours at it, right? And so you're saying, I don't have any energy left now to do what, the more important thing of the job search. You just need to be as disciplined as you possibly can. And even if it's, as Sandra said, or as Deborah said earlier, set a small goal. I'm going to spend at least an hour today on the bigger job search, or and do one or two things to move that forward in some way. Yeah.
All right, thank you very
A
much.
little bit every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will tell you that, in my career coaching practice, when I work with gainfully employed people, like traditional, full-time, employees, they have all kinds of energy when we first start the engagement. Oh, they're excited. We
Yeah.
do the resume, we do the LinkedIn, we da. And then life happens, right?
Yeah.
Because it falls into that category of important but not urgent.
Yeah.
So they're gainfully employed, they've got a life, they got family, they got the job, da. And either they don't make the time because it's just not as important as someone who's unemployed, or they're just too tired at the end of the day. So you really have to be very intentional when you're job searching, when you have a job.
Yeah. Yeah, the best time to look for a job is while you have a job, but the problem is finding the time to
Right.
actually search for the job. That's
Right.
that's what it boils down to. And it's whereas when you're unemployed, you've got all the time in the world to
Yeah.
search for a job, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure. Oh, I meant to let you guys know, I held this in my inbox all week long. Give me a sec here. There is, okay. So there's a company called JobScan team. So it was, sorry, jobscan.co. And they have these. All right, I'm going to actually just share my screen here. Somebody forwarded this to me and I wanted to share it with you guys.
Is it the scans, Cheryl?
So this is from a company called JobScan. So somebody forwarded me this email. You register for any of our free No Fear Job Search webinars yet? Over the next 2 weeks, 12 career experts will share their knowledge on job search topics. Totally free. Got all of these people. And oh, sorry. Okay, so there's still ones coming up on the 20th. And I think, you know what? We just missed. So the 20th is the only one left. Or 21st, and the 21st as well. And the 23rd. Okay, so there are a couple ones left. There's actually some today. Or this one is already, oh yeah, 12 p.m. today. Okay, so anyway, if you're interested, just go to, let's see here, JobScan. And I would imagine their webinar series are going to be right there. Okay, just letting you know. Okay, so any other questions before we wrap up?
No, but thank you, Shara, for sharing that.
Mhm.
I actually spent a week filling out a job application for a government job for a local town near me. And it really made me think about the people I'm not talking to in a long time. And I've reached out to some of them and they called me back right away. And I've had some great conversations and networking, how much more I really need to be doing that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Those are the dormant relationships in your life. And we all
You know,
have
I think it was like 10 years that I hadn't talked to some of these people and it was just like it was yesterday.
Exactly.
And they're more than willing to help me out however they can. So
Yeah.
I
Great.
can't say that strongly enough for those of you who have not done that. Just continue to do it because it really does help.
If you had a good relationship the last time you talked, it doesn't matter how many years have passed.
Right.
They'll be glad to hear from you and it'll be like long time no see.
Right. Yeah.
I've had that happen with someone, 20, 25 years ago. I mean, it's just, doesn't matter how long.
Anyway.
Good. Thanks, Karen.
Mhm.
All right. Anyone else? And also, I haven't talked about them in a long time, but there are a number of other job seeker groups in our area, here in the DC area, that of course are all virtual now. 40 plus and career confidence and career network ministry and JCA. Those groups all have, you know, regular job search programs. 40 plus, 40 PLUS, they meet every Monday morning. Career Confidence, career-confidence.org. They meet every Saturday morning. CNM, the Career Network Ministry, they meet every Tuesday evening. Actually, they have now virtually, they've got meetings like all throughout the week, but the main meeting is Tuesday evening. And then JCA, the Jewish Council on the Aging, they've got something called the Career Gateway Program. And that is, actually that one you have to pay $75, not a lot, but it's a week-long program and they do it every like semester or so. So I would highly recommend that you check those out if those are of interest to you, in addition to what we're doing here. Okay. All right, so with that, we'll wrap up the official portion of our HMM program. And for those of you who want to stay on a prayer call, you're certainly welcome to do so. And for everyone else, we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And remember, invite your friends because, you know, we're getting low on numbers here because of people getting landing jobs. So happy to help anybody who needs it. All right, have a blessed day, everyone.
Bye.
Okay. So let's start our, let me just end the call here.